The Promised Land, a region located in Canaan, central to the history of Israel according to the Bible. Promised by God to Abraham and his descendants, this land has become a powerful symbol of hope and divine fulfillment for the Israelites. For Israel, the Promised Land is a cornerstone of cultural and religious identity, representing a deep ancestral connection with their patriarchs and the manifestation of their spiritual beliefs. This territory holds a fundamental place in Jewish history and faith across the centuries. However, it has also been the focus of numerous territorial conflicts, from ancient Syrian and Babylonian invasions to modern-day wars, leaving a lasting impact on the region. We are Jesus Eternal Aura. In today's video, you will have appropriate answers to all the questions above. Before you know what happened, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and click the bell icon for all the latest updates. Let's start by examining how Israel might recover its promised land. The complexities of the Middle East are often difficult to understand fully, but a significant aspect can be traced back to biblical promises. According to the Bible, specifically Genesis chapter 12, God promised Abraham a great nation and land. This promise is fundamental to understanding the historical and spiritual claims to the land by Israel. The Bible recounts that God told Abraham, "I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing." This promise included giving Abraham's descendants a specific land, often referred to as the Promised Land. In the book of Joshua, chapter 14, we see the children of Israel receiving their inheritance in the land of Canaan. This distribution was overseen by Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the tribes of Israel. The scripture emphasizes that every promise God made to Israel was fulfilled. Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, and after wandering in the desert for 40 years, they were poised to enter the Promised Land. Joshua then led them to many victories, including the miraculous fall of Jericho. Subsequent victories over the Ammonites, Jebusites, Amalekites, and other hostile groups enabled Israel to take possession of the land. After these conquests, Joshua divided the land among the tribes of Israel. The Bible states that there was no lack of any of the good promises that God had made to Israel. They were all fulfilled. This narrative from the Bible highlights that God's promises were realized in due time. It suggests a broader message. Just as God fulfilled his promises to Israel, he will also fulfill his promises to individuals today. Whether it's a new project, a business, or good health, what God has promised will come to pass. After Joshua's leadership, Israel entered the era of the judges, including figures like Gideon and Samson, who led Israel in times of need. Israel did not have a king until the people requested one, leading to Saul's anointment and later David's. Throughout history, Israel experienced periods of exile and punishment, yet the promise of the land remained a central theme. In summary, the concept of the Promised Land is deeply rooted in biblical history and prophecy, illustrating God's faithfulness to Israel. This historical context continues to influence contemporary discussions about the land and its significance to the people of Israel. The Promised Land, which God promised to Abraham and later handed over to Joshua, has a complex history marked by conquest, exile, and resettlement. Initially, this land was inhabited by the 12 tribes of Israel. However, due to the sins of Israel, significant events transpired that drastically altered the demographic and political landscape. The Assyrians, an ancient empire, invaded and conquered the northern kingdom of Israel. They captured 10 of the 12 tribes, leaving only the tribes of Judah and Benjamin in the southern kingdom, which included Jerusalem. The Assyrians didn't just remove the Israelites, they replaced them with people from other conquered territories. These new inhabitants settled in the area and intermingled with the remaining population, creating a new cultural and ethnic group known as the Samaritans. This history is crucial to understanding the animosity between Jews and Samaritans, as illustrated by the Samaritan woman's encounter with Jesus in the New Testament. Following the Assyrian conquest, the land faced further upheavals. The Babylonians conquered the southern kingdom, exiling many Jews and destroying the first temple. After a period of exile in Babylon, some Jews returned to rebuild Jerusalem and the temple under Persian rule. However, even after their return, the region continued to experience domination by various empires, including the Greeks and Romans. During the Roman era, the Jewish population faced significant hardships, including another major exile after revolts against Roman rule. The Jewish-Roman wars resulted in widespread destruction, including the demolition of the Second Temple in 70 CE, and led to a prolonged period of Jewish diaspora. Despite this, Jewish communities persisted in the region, maintaining a continuous, albeit often minority, presence. Fast forward to the 20th century, the situation in the land of Israel remained contentious. During World War II, the Holocaust led to the murder of 6 million Jews by Nazi Germany. This atrocity had profound implications for global Jewry and significantly influenced international opinion on the need for a Jewish homeland. In 1948, following World War II and the Holocaust, the United Nations voted to partition the British Mandate of Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states. This decision was intended to provide a homeland for the Jewish people while also establishing a state for the Palestinian Arabs. The declaration of the State of Israel on May 14, 1948, was met with immediate military opposition from neighboring Arab countries. The ensuing conflict, known as the Arab-Israeli War of 1948, resulted in significant territorial changes. Israel not only survived the war, but also expanded its territory beyond the initial UN partition plan, controlling much of the land allocated for the proposed Arab state. The armistice agreements that followed established Israel's borders with its neighbors, but left Jerusalem divided, with Jordan controlling the eastern part, including the Old City, and Israel controlling the western part. The armistice lines, known as the Green Line, did not resolve the underlying conflict, and tensions remained high. The Six-Day War in 1967 was another pivotal moment. Israel captured the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, from Jordan, the Gaza Strip and Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, and the Golan Heights from Syria. These territorial gains significantly altered the region's dynamics and intensified the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Israel's control over these areas, particularly the West Bank and East Jerusalem, has been a major point of contention in the ongoing conflict. In the present day, the conflict centers on several key issues: the status of Jerusalem, the borders of Israel, the rights of Palestinian refugees, and the establishment of a Palestinian state. The Gaza Strip, controlled by the Palestinian militant group Hamas, has been a flashpoint for violence. Meanwhile, the West Bank remains under partial Israeli military occupation, with both Israeli settlements and Palestinian communities existing in a tense and often violent coexistence. The modern State of Israel, established in 1948, claims historical and religious ties to the land, citing biblical promises made to Abraham and the historical presence of Jewish people in the region. However, Palestinian Arabs, who have lived in the region for centuries, also claim the land as their own, emphasizing their continuous residence and cultural heritage. The 20th and 21st centuries have seen numerous attempts to resolve the conflict through diplomacy and peace talks, including the Oslo Accords and the Camp David Summit. Despite these efforts, a lasting peace agreement has remained elusive, with periodic eruptions of violence, such as the Intifadas and recurrent clashes in Gaza. The root of the current situation is deeply intertwined with historical claims, religious significance, and political disputes. The land promised to Abraham and later occupied by Joshua has seen countless changes in control and population over millennia. Today, the land that God gave to Israel is contested, with Palestinians occupying parts of it, including Gaza and areas of the West Bank. The struggle for sovereignty, security, and self-determination continues to fuel the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, making it one of the most enduring and complex disputes in modern history. The ongoing conflict in Israel today, particularly the efforts to establish two states, stems from a deeply rooted historical and religious context. The idea of a two-state solution is often proposed as a way to resolve the Palestinian issue by creating an independent Palestinian state alongside Israel. However, Israel faces significant challenges in accepting this solution. The core of the issue lies in the belief that all the land currently occupied by Arabs and Palestinians is part of the promised land given by God to the Israelites, which they lost over time. Historically, this land holds immense significance for Israel. Solomon built the first temple, which was later rebuilt after the Babylonian exile, and again by Herod the Great during Jesus' time. This temple was destroyed in 70 CE by the Roman general Titus. Today, only the Western Wall, also known as the Wailing Wall, remains. It is a sacred site where Jews pray daily. The desire to rebuild the Third Temple is strong among many Israelis, but the area where the temple once stood is now occupied by Palestinians, particularly in East Jerusalem and the Temple Mount, an area of great contention. Israel's longing to reclaim every inch of this promised land is a powerful sentiment that persists despite the practical difficulties. The land is currently inhabited by Arabs, making the prospect of reclaiming it complex and fraught with conflict. As believers and supporters, there is a commitment to pray for Israel, asking God to strengthen and aid them in this quest. The hope is that, through divine intervention, Israel can miraculously recover the land promised to them by God during the times of Moses and Joshua. The situation in Jerusalem exemplifies this conflict. Historically, Jerusalem has been the capital of Israel since the times of King David, and even earlier, dating back to Abraham. However, today it is a divided city. Palestinians claim East Jerusalem as the capital of a future Palestinian state, while Israel asserts the entire city as its capital. This division is a significant source of tension. As followers of the faith, there is a call to continuously pray for Israel. This prayer includes asking for the strength and wisdom to navigate these challenging times and for the fulfillment of the promises God made to them. The belief is that God, in His miraculous ways, can enable Israel to reclaim its promised land fully. This land is not only a geographical area, but a divine inheritance, a fulfillment of God's promise that dates back millennia. The Middle East conflict is rooted in these deep historical and religious convictions. For the Arabs and their allies, Israel is seen as an intruder in what they consider their land. They believe Israel should leave and vacate these territories. On the other hand, the Israelites and their supporters, including many Gentile believers who have embraced the Jewish history and the teachings of the Bible, view the land as their God-given inheritance. This fundamental difference in perspectives fuels the ongoing strife. The commitment to pray for Israel involves asking for God's guidance and intervention to help Israel reclaim its promised land. This includes prayers for each individual who has received promises from God, be it for family, success, or personal blessings. The belief is that, just as God can help Israel reclaim its land, He can also fulfill His promises to each believer. The conflict in Israel today is deeply tied to historical, religious, and territorial claims. The desire to rebuild the Third Temple and reclaim the Promised Land is central to the Israeli perspective. This has led to a situation where the land, particularly Jerusalem, is highly contested. Supporters of Israel are called to pray for divine intervention, believing that through God's power, Israel can overcome these challenges and fulfill the promises made to them. This prayer extends to all believers, encouraging them to hold on to their faith and trust in God's promises for their own lives as well. The deep historical and religious ties to the land of Israel make the current conflict and the quest for a two-state solution highly complex. The longing to rebuild the Third Temple in Jerusalem is not just about physical construction, but a spiritual aspiration to restore a significant part of their heritage and fulfill a divine promise. This desire is deeply ingrained in the collective consciousness of the Israeli people and their supporters. The city of Jerusalem stands as a symbol of this struggle. It has been the focal point of Jewish identity and faith since ancient times. Today, however, it is a divided city, reflecting the broader conflict. The Old City, with its holy sites, including the Temple Mount, is particularly contentious. For Muslims, this area is home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, making it a significant religious site. For Jews, it is the location of the First and Second Temples, making it equally, if not more, significant. This overlapping religious significance adds layers of complexity to any potential resolution. The broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict encompasses issues of sovereignty, security, and mutual recognition. Palestinians seek an independent state in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, with East Jerusalem as its capital. However, Israeli settlements in the West Bank, security concerns, and the political status of Jerusalem are major stumbling blocks. The fear among many Israelis is that relinquishing control over certain areas could compromise their security and historical claims to the land. As believers and supporters of Israel, the commitment to pray for the nation's restoration and peace is paramount. This involves seeking God's guidance and intervention in these troubled times. The belief is that through prayer, God can perform miracles, just as He has done in the past, enabling Israel to reclaim and secure its promised land. The notion of the promised land is not merely a political or territorial issue, but a spiritual one. It is about fulfilling the covenant that God made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The return of the Jewish people to their ancestral homeland and the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 is seen by many as a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. However, the full realization of this promise, including the rebuilding of the Third Temple and complete control over Jerusalem, is still awaited. The challenges Israel faces are immense. The land is currently occupied by various groups, including Palestinians, who also have deep historical and cultural ties to the region. This creates a scenario where both sides have legitimate claims and deep-seated grievances. Achieving peace requires navigating these complex historical narratives and finding a path that respects the aspirations of both Israelis and Palestinians. The international community, including bodies like the United Nations, often advocate for a two-state solution as a way to ensure peace and stability in the region. However, this solution faces opposition from various quarters, including some Israeli factions who believe in the complete reclamation of the biblical Promised Land. This ideological divide further complicates peace efforts. As believers, the role of prayer cannot be underestimated. Praying for Israel involves asking for divine wisdom and intervention to find a path to peace that honors God's promises. It also means praying for the hearts and minds of all involved to seek reconciliation and mutual respect. The hope is that through persistent prayer, a miraculous resolution can be achieved. In addition to praying for Israel, there is also a call to pray for individuals who are awaiting the fulfillment of God's promises in their own lives. Just as the Israelites long for the restoration of their land, many believers are waiting for God to fulfill promises of personal blessings, be it family, success, or spiritual growth. The act of praying for Israel is thus intertwined with personal faith, reinforcing the belief that God is faithful to His promises. In conclusion, the conflict in Israel today is a complex mix of historical, religious, and political factors. The desire to rebuild the Third Temple and reclaim the Promised Land is a powerful driving force for many Israelis. The divided status of Jerusalem and the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict reflect deep-seated issues that require careful navigation and divine intervention. As supporters and believers, the commitment to pray for Israel is crucial, trusting that God's promises will be fulfilled in His perfect timing. This prayer extends to all believers, encouraging them to hold on to their faith and trust in God's promises for their own lives as well. Through persistent prayer and faith, there is hope for a peaceful resolution and the complete fulfillment of God's promises.
These findings illuminate the architectural and urban development of ancient Jerusalem, offering deep insights into the cultural and religious landscape of the time. As the city expanded and evolved, so too did its religious and cultural significance. The construction of the second wall around the Church of the Holy Sepulchre signals a shift in priorities and an acknowledgement of the importance of this sacred site. It reflects the interplay between faith, history, and architecture in shaping Jerusalem's identity as a spiritual center. The changes in Jerusalem's city walls and the placement of religious sites like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre highlight the dynamic interaction between the physical and spiritual realms. These developments underscore Jerusalem's rich history and its enduring legacy as a place of profound religious and historical significance. Amidst the overwhelming information, St. Matthew's teaching reminds us to remain vigilant, for false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, "There he is, out in the wilderness, do not go out," or "Here he is, in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man," Matthew 24:24-27. We believe what we choose to believe. When visiting the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, you might notice a peculiar sight: the immovable ladder. This single ladder has become a symbol of sorts, representing human folly and the persistent divisions and disputes within the Christian world. Proposed as the site of Jesus' death and resurrection, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is one of Christianity's holiest places, attracting pilgrims since the 4th century. However, even this revered shrine has not escaped the quirks of human nature: vanity, pride, and envy. From its earliest days, Christianity experienced fragmentation, leading to numerous denominations and sects, each claiming to be the true followers of Jesus Christ. The most prominent of these groups fought bitterly over the centuries for control over holy sites in the Holy Land. During periods of Muslim dominance, the government, equally hostile to all Christian denominations, prevented any single sect from achieving dominance. This created a relatively stable, albeit tense, balance of power among the Christian factions. The Muslims maintained control by playing the various Christian factions against each other, ensuring no group became too powerful. This delicate balance persisted for many years, with occasional violent flare-ups but no significant shifts in power. Despite the challenges posed by Muslim dominance, the Christian communities in the region managed to survive and even thrive, often cooperating when necessary to resist external threats. As disputes continued, methods for gaining advantage became increasingly dubious, including bribery, blackmail, and the use of force. Today, the situation has settled into an uneasy status quo, a fragile compromise reached through the mediation of the Ottoman Empire and several European powers. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is jointly managed by 6 denominations: the Greek Orthodox, Armenian Apostolic, and Roman Catholic churches, with lesser duties shared by the Coptic, Ethiopian, and Syriac Orthodox churches. The church is meticulously divided into sections, some shared while others are strictly controlled by a particular sect. A complex set of rules governs the transit rights of other groups through each section, creating a highly intricate system of coexistence. This arrangement often leads to disputes, especially during religious holidays. For instance, in November 2008, videos surfaced online showing a fistfight between Armenian and Greek monks over a territorial disagreement. Another example involves a small section of the church roof disputed between the Copts and Ethiopians. To assert their claim, a Coptic monk sits on a chair placed in a specific spot. One hot summer day, he moved his chair 20 centimeters into the shade, which was perceived as a hostile act and a violation of the status quo. resulting in a brawl that hospitalized 11 people. Such incidents highlight the challenges of maintaining this delicate balance of power. The state of perpetual tension makes any agreement on renovations or repairs nearly impossible, leading to the church's gradual decay. The famous immovable ladder is a bizarre consequence of this stubbornness, pushed to extremes. Sometime in the first half of the 18th century, someone placed a ladder against the church wall. Because of the complex and rigid division of responsibilities among the denominations, no one has been able to move it, and it remains there to this day. This ladder has become a powerful symbol of the divisions within Christianity, illustrating how even a sacred site like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is not immune to human frailties. It underscores the ongoing struggles and the fragile peace that defines the Church's management. Despite these conflicts, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre remains a central place of pilgrimage and devotion, reflecting the deep spiritual heritage of Christianity. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem is steeped in mystery and reverence. One such enigma is a ladder, whose origins and affiliations remain unknown. No one is sure who placed it or which sect they belong to. This ladder, first evidenced in a 1728 engraving by Laris Horn, has not been moved since. The reason for its immobility lies in the delicate balance of religious harmony, where any alteration could provoke disputes among the sects. The church's doors have been under the guardianship of the Nuzibah family and the Juday family, both of whom are the oldest Muslim families in Jerusalem. This tradition, dating back to at least the 12th century, continues today with these families holding the keys to this sacred site, thought to house the tomb of Jesus Christ. Many visitors wonder if they can access this holy place. The answer is yes, entrance is free, although some parts of the church might be closed for ceremonies on certain days. Millions of tourists visit the church annually, seeking spiritual closeness to God. Our journey to Jerusalem brings us to the Temple Mount, where the golden dome of the rock stands out. This rock holds significant importance in Judaism, believed to be the creation site of Adam and the place where Abraham attempted to sacrifice his son Isaac. The divine presence of this site draws Jews who turn towards it in prayer. Nearby, the twin blue domes of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre mark the most sacred site in Christianity. This is where Christ was crucified and resurrected, originally outside Jerusalem on Mount Calvary or Golgotha. Inside the church, a staircase leads up to Calvary, the site of Jesus' crucifixion and the most elaborately adorned part of the church. Descending another staircase from this site brings us to the ambulatory, where Calvary has two chapels, one Greek Orthodox and the other Catholic. The Greek Orthodox chapel's altar is over the rock of Calvary, which is also the 12th station of the cross. Visitors can touch the rock through a special hole beneath the altar or view it through protective glass on both sides. Between the Catholic and Greek altars, a statue of Mary marks the 13th station of the cross. Upon entering the church, we encounter the stone of anointing, believed to be where Jesus' body was prepared for burial. The modern mosaic along the wall depicts the anointing, while lamps with candles and incense hang over the stone. Moving forward, we reach the Aedicule, a small chapel housing the Holy Sepulchre. It consists of two rooms. One holds the angel's stone, thought to be a fragment of the stone that sealed Jesus' tomb, and the other is the tomb of Jesus. Since the 14th century, a marble plaque over the tomb protects it from damage caused by the numerous pilgrims. The Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, and Armenian Apostolic churches all have rightful access to the interior of the tomb, where they hold Holy Massachusetts daily. From May 2016 to March 2017, the Aedicule underwent meticulous restoration and repair to ensure the structure's safety for visitors. This effort highlights the ongoing dedication to preserving the sanctity and integrity of this revered site. As we reflect on the significance of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, we are reminded of the deep historical and spiritual connections it holds for millions around the world.